A local journalist requested documentation, public records on the Climate Commitment Act, and she was told not only would it take up to 2 years to receive them, but it could cost her $2 million. This segment is brought to you by Eastside Weight Loss Clinic. Sick of fad diets that work for a couple months and then you gain all the weight back? Well, I'm down 37 pounds on the Eastside Weight Loss Clinic program, and I've kept that weight off for more than a year. Schedule your free 15-minute consultation today at eastsideweightlossclinic.com. Shauna Sowersby is a government reporter for McClatchy, and McClatchy is kind of like an Associated Press in that they do reporting and it goes out to a bunch of different publications. And I think Shauna does a good job. She's done some really good stories. She's been one of the few journalists that has been very, very hard on Democrats in Olympia over their efforts to make it more difficult for us to get public records. So I do want to give her a lot of credit for that. Well, boy, did she file a whopper of a public disclosure request. Now, let me characterize this in my way because I don't want to put words in her mouth because she certainly doesn't say any of this. I really look at this and I think, wow, they do not want you to find out what's happening with the Climate Commitment Act before you vote on whether to repeal it in November. That's how I see this. So Shauna said on Twitter, I requested records from the Washington Department of Licensing regarding revenues and funds collected from the Climate Commitment Act gas tax and was quoted $2 million for one method of retrieving those documents to be released over a period of 2 years. So basically what they did based on what she requested is they came back and they said, okay, we have a couple different options here for you to consider when it comes to how we're going to fulfill, journalist, your legal public records request. It says primary documentation of refunds for businesses and individuals housed in our primary system of record is what you're requesting. The estimated total is 648,000 records based on tax cycle periods and customer volume. So they said one option is that they could make a custom data inquiry to extract all responsive refund records housed in DOL's database. And if you choose this, it's going to take 2 years and $2 million. So basically, yeah, we'll create a whole system just to extract the data that you're looking for. And you'll have to pay us $2 million to do that. Option number 2, an alternate manual extraction. DOL staff would manually go in and extract those records. The electronic transmittal fees would be 5 cents every 4 records. It will take approximately 5 years to do that, and it will cost $8,100 to fulfill, which also isn't very good. Or you could get copies of paper records, such as individual tax refund documents that were received and retained as hard copies. A rough estimate is 12,500 pages. The scanning fees are 10 cents per page. The total would be $1,250 and nearly 2 years to fulfill. I love it how they give her the option of the $2 million one. Like the $2 million one would take 2 years, but also the hand scanning would take 2 years. One would cost $2 million and the other would cost $1,200. Like, gee, I wonder which of those options she'd pursue. This is absurd. And this is really, we haven't talked about it a lot. We have our ongoing public records lawsuit against the city of Seattle, and that's because we want to be respectful of the process and of the court proceedings and all of that stuff. And certainly when it comes to a conclusion, we'll discuss it. But one of the underlying issues in our case, and I think is relevant here, is the law says that public entities have to provide fullest assistance. They have to provide fullest assistance at reasonable cost to be able to get the media and members of the public alike records that they're entitled to get. Remember, they're our records. We're simply requesting them from the government that works for us. But one of the things I think a lot of these government entities do is, one, they're incompetent, right? They haven't, a tech company could in a second find a way to get those records for her, probably in a day. But the government's entirely incompetent. And so it has these really laborious systems of fulfilling public records requests in a way that are unduly burdensome, and therefore, I don't believe amount to fullest assistance under the requirements of the law. But again, I look at this and I think that's got Jay Inslee's hands all over it. Like, let's make this system so difficult to track that if anyone wants to take a closer look at it, it's going to cost them $2 million in 2 years to do it. So Shauna Sowersby certainly isn't getting those records and that information before you go to the ballot in November and decide whether you want to repeal the CCA. But hey, maybe you just repeal it and the records aren't necessary.